And welcome everyone to another Community Starcraft event brought to you by Logan. In this game, the first round of the losers bracket for the SC24Life Bronze and Silver League tournament, we have the Green Terran player Nybbling in the bottom left-hand corner of, I think this is Worldship. This is actually a map I don't think I've ever seen anyone play on. It was in the original map pool, or not map pool, the map pack for Wings of Liberty. However, I don't think I've ever seen any actual pro game played on it. So it's a little bit older. It's not seen as much, so it'll be interesting to see how the players react to this new map. So Nybbling down here in the bottom left-hand corner, and his opponent in the top right is the blue Terran player Cricket. Now remember, Cricket was just recently knocked out of the winner's bracket by King Itchy, while Nybbling was knocked out a little bit earlier, so it'll be interesting to see how this game goes. They're playing for the right to continue to stay in this tournament, so we'll see what type of actions and shenanigans we have going on. We have Cricket going out with a relatively quick scout. Before the barracks gets done is generally when many people consider a relatively early scout. Also, I believe this map does have some crazy backdoor rocks to get into the base. However, they're on the high ground, so instead of the base being on the high ground and the rocks going to the low ground, you actually have the opposite in this map. So it's a little bit interesting to watch it. You can put a supply depot here, but all you'll ever see is these rocks getting attacked, and that's even if you're paying really close attention. Cricket being a little gutsy, going ahead and giving the working SCVs a little bit of a hard time down here in Nibbling's base. Of course, they're not actually attacking anything other than the building, so yeah, 5 hit points down, not a big deal. Generally what you'll see instead is the SCV going for the other SCV, trying to give it enough damage. Yeah, there you go. So then the worker either dies or has to be pulled off, which delays the buildings ever so slightly. However, with the Marine popping out here, everything should be just fine. The Marine for Cricket is already out. Although Nybbling does get the scout, he does see the gas, sees full production out of the gas, which unsurprisingly is mirrored by his own, so no big deal here. Cricket with the earlier orbital command, that should give him a pretty decent economic lead. So even though he does have additional workers at this point, mules call down more than any 2 or 3 SCVs. I believe it's 270 minerals per minute that they produce, whereas each SCV is worth usually around 40, depending on the distance from the mineral patch. So, Nybbling going ahead with 2 racks, one with Tech Lab, one with the reactor. We'll be able to produce 2 Marines and a Marauder at a time. I do like Cricket taking this watchtower. However, I'd like to point out that the watchtowers on this map don't give you quite as much coverage as other maps do. However, with this big wall, you will still see armies going around the side, but not until a little bit later. So, back home, we have Cricket going with a 1... Ooh, it looks like he's doing a 1-1-1 plus eBay. Interesting. So, for those of you that don't know, a 1-1-1 is essentially 1 barracks, 1 factory, and 1 starport. Usually you'll see that for Banshee play. And with both gases down, he is totally prepped for Banshee. Also, I'd like to point out the worker count has now equalized because it takes forever to morph into a orbital command. But the income, you do see, actually, Nybbling with his more recent mule, looks like he's got a little bit of the economic lead, although Cricket does have 1 more worker. So generally what happens with a 1-1-1 is you basically barricade yourself inside your base, you build a tech lab with your factory, and then land it here, and we'd expect Cloak to be researched almost immediately. There it goes, Cloak going down, and we should see a Banshee followed almost immediately as well. So this build, you're very gas-starved. You are usually technically a little bit behind for the duration of this. However, if you are able to make it into your opponent's base and do enough damage, you will come out ahead. So a 1-1-1 is a pretty safe opening because you wall yourself in, but it does put you behind economically, generally speaking. However, Nybbling going with much more conventional barracks-centric build. He now does have a factory, 2 factories going down. Interesting. It looks like he's going to start playing a little bit of biomech with the tech lab on there. So expect to see some siege tanks with siege mode being researched immediately. There we go. And a siege tank being started. So it'll be interesting to see how this works out. Cricket spending all his extra minerals with Hellions and Marines. That's a good way to go, because remember, Banshees are quite gas heavy, so you're always going to be gas starved, and you'll have extra minerals just kind of floating around. It's interesting to see that Nibbling's done a little bit of SimCity here, protecting himself, because remember, holding a ramp in TVT can be a little bit more difficult, especially with siege tanks. Oh, a little bit of engagement here. The Marine will fall very quickly, but he does get some excellent damage out on this Hellion. That was very fortunate for him. We do have the Banshee chilling back here. We're waiting for... We do have Cloak already completed. Good control here. The Hellion just didn't have enough health to be able to do very much damage here in the background. However, that was an excellent attempt, and you do see a lot of the workers here in the orange, which will help out with this next Hellion harass. Hellion, that's a Banshee. We do have a whole bunch of supply depots going down. He's quite frustrated at supply blocks as aims. He does have... They're actually both very even on the worker count. Nibbling's a little bit ahead, which indicates that he's macroing just a little bit harder. However, we'll see how he reacts to this Banshee. Remember, there's no engineering base, so he will not be able to build anything with Cloak. He'll be relying on scans, and with 2 Banshees, this is going to be quite difficult to hold off. He needs to have a perfect money scan. He needs to have the Marines there. He only has 1 scan. That was the entire scan, and now he is not able to see anything. He needs to start an eBay immediately. He needs to pull some workers. So these Marines did a great job at driving off the Banshee. However, it's cloaked, so there's nothing they can do to see. What I've actually seen done before is you just need to pull the Marines forward. Marines are much less valuable. However, the Banshee's taking out the high-value targets, the siege tanks, and their worker count's dropping like crazy for Nybbling. So it looks like Nybbling might be going for a counterattack. Interestingly, forgetting all of his Marauders, which would be very useful. It does look like he's going straight over where they headed up. Should be headed over here sometime. In the meanwhile, all the 2 Banshees are just ravaging Nibbling's base. So the army size is actually almost equal, though. So it'll be interesting to see how this base trade works out. Banshees have incredibly high DPS, however, so do Marines. So we'll see. Do 16 Marines and 6 Marauders have more DPS than 3 Banshees? I don't know. It doesn't seem to matter, though, because all the Marauders are back home. Looks like Nybbling wasn't quite aware that there's not a simple, easy way to go forward. Looks like Cricket is well aware of this. He's got a Banshee back home to defend. And with all these SCVs back here, it looks like he should be able to repair everything quite quickly, and the Marines here will fall. So, an excellent game by Cricket, using the 1-1-1 to take out and take his opponent by surprise. It'll be interesting to see as what he does as he continues forward. This is actually the first time we've seen this build, so we wish Cricket good luck as he continues forward in the losers bracket, and our condolences go out to Nybbling. While well played, he was taken completely by surprise by the 1-1-1 Cloak Banshee build. So it's a very difficult one to defend if you don't have any scouting information. And while his macro was doing quite well, he simply didn't have the intel to know that he needed to throw down an eBay immediately. So, sorry about that, but we'll be interested to see how the rest of this tournament